Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today is day 2 of The Hobbit, which is day 5 of The Lord of the Rings. This was a poll and you guys voted on it, and this was number 1. So I'm doing all of them, which is getting really annoying because they're so freaking long, which I'll discuss later. But today we're going to be talking about The Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug was released in 2013. It was written by Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, Peter Jackson, and Guillermo del Toro. And it was directed by Peter Jackson. The same people that did the first one and most of the people that did the first Lord of the Rings trilogy. And no spoilers here, but essentially it picks up where we left off in the first one, and we see them get trapped in this forest of spiders, and then they're tramping their way to the tower, where they then run into Benedict Cumberbatch. It's an okay movie. It is. It's okay. It's definitely not my favorite, and it has a lot of issues. Okay. Let me first start off with the CGI, which honestly wasn't great. I didn't really sell it really early on. I think with the dragon later, it did way better. But I don't think it was consistent. And consistency is key. What probably happened was they had 2 different companies work on them at the same time, which then became an issue because they didn't have the same ideas for consistency there. And I do think that's probably the issue. And it's a small issue. It's nitpicky, but still, it's still an issue, right? Let's talk about the next issue. Let's see. The characters were fine. Let me talk about Gandalf for a second. Why is Gandalf so weird in this movie, right? In this trilogy so far, Gandalf is just this weird wizard, right? In the first trilogy, Gandalf was wise and he was smart and he was cool and like the kids. And this one, he's just weird. He doesn't feel like the same Gandalf to me as the original trilogy, which is a problem because I love Gandalf there and I don't really like him here. It's kind of weird and creepy. I don't really get it. I don't really know why, but it is. As for Bilbo, he's good. He's fine. I don't really like him as much, I guess, as the first one, but it is what it is. I'm not going to talk about acting in this review, mainly because I already talked about it in the first one. I think, in general, it all kind of decreased a little bit. Not by a whole lot, but by like a reasonable amount. And, Benedict Cumberbatch is in this, but it's his voice and his face tracking on the dragon. Didn't really sound like Benedict Cumberbatch, so good for you. He was kind of disguised as a dragon. But that's okay. It was cool. I did like that Benedict Cumberbatch was there. However, it's hard to tell. And I think a lot of the characters just weren't quite fleshed out in this one. They didn't really grow. They didn't really change. It was kind of static the whole way. I mean, this weird part where this guy helps them out for a while, and he's cool. I like the guy, but it didn't really help the plot of the story very much. And honestly, could have just skipped it all, but we didn't. Which brings me to my next point. Wow, the movie is so long. And the pacing makes it longer because we have all these long sequences where, like, nothing really happens. And it's like, why did these have to be so long? Like, why did these 4 writers all together collectively decide that each trilogy has to be, like, 9.5 hours long? Like, why? Why couldn't it have been, like, 6 hours? Like, I really genuinely don't understand why they have to be so long and yet contain so little. Like, can't you just figure it out and just have shorter movies that make more sense? I don't get why they do this. I'm gonna complain about it every time it happens. The next movie's a little bit shorter. It's only 2 hours and 45 minutes, but still, that's still pretty long, and there better be stuff that happens or I swear to God. Okay, rant over. I think there are some good things in the movie. I liked the general story. I liked how they moved from the spiders and then they did the dragon. In between, I didn't really give 2 craps about, but the spider part and the dragon part were both pretty good and pretty sold on me. So that's pretty cool. But, like, that's kind of it, is the thing. Those were the only 2 cool parts. And, like, Gandalf's not there a lot, and he's really weird in this movie, as he was in the first movie. But not the trilogy. I don't understand why it's so different, but it's so different. I could rant about this all day, probably. In general, I didn't really particularly care for it, mainly because it had such a hard time controlling my attention, right? If you're going to have some people walk through a forest for 3 hours, fine. But, like, give me something cool to look at or to do, right? And in general, I liked the cool parts. I liked the spider part. I liked it every time he had the ring and he was figuring out whether or not he should wear it. I liked the dragon part. I did. But, like, all the in-betweeny parts were just so long and boring, right? It was like, ooh, action, oh, God, boring. Oh, action, oh, God, boring. And it's just, it's hard because that kind of pacing is what will put people to sleep, right? That exact kind of pacing. You can have a slow movie and it be very good. You can have a fast movie and it be very good. But when you're doing this whole, like, short action sequence that's really cool, long, boring sequence, short action sequence, it's bound to make people tired and want to sleep. And I don't think I necessarily was tired and wanted to sleep, but I definitely wanted to be watching something else, which is not what you want when you're watching a movie. And that, collectively, is why I'm going to give The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, a B-. Not a great movie, if I'm being completely honest with you. Definitely not the best of the trilogy so far. I think the first Hobbit was a little bit better, and I'm hoping for a better ending, but I honestly not looking forward to it, but we'll see how it goes. And just as a reminder, next Monday we are not doing a Lord of the Rings thing because we are starting the Saw series on Thursday, and I will be busy watching the Saw movies all next week. So if you guys like Saw, subscribe. If you don't like Saw, subscribe anyway because it's only like 7 days of Saw. But that's going to do it for me today. Please consider subscribing. It's a huge help. Comment down below what you guys thought about the second Hobbit movie. And comment for whatever, if you have a request. Cool. If you just want to say hi, that's fine. I love saying hi to you guys. Hi, guys. Share the video. Like it. All the jazzy stuff that YouTubers have people do. And as always, keep watching movies and television. Stay educated. And I'll see you guys in the next video.